I'd like to welcome all listeners back to the fourth section of the third installment of the analysis of James Joyce Ulysses by County Galway playwright John Ruane. That's me. Ruane is spelled Ruane. Um, I'm doing this recording actually from my home village in Monivea. It's spelled Monivea, which is approximately 15 miles from Galway City in the west of Ireland. Just 1 minute before we go back into the book Ulysses, I'd just like to give a plug here for my book of short stories, 9 stories from Avinon, which is spelled Aevinom, which there should be a link to that from this recording. Anyone that would like to purchase that book, I would really appreciate it. And not alone, as I said before, is it 9 stories. It's not alone is it 9 short stories. It's also contained within is 9 one-act plays. So it's 9 short stories, but it's also 9 one-act plays. And them 9 one-act plays, every word of dialogue is contained within the book. I've also written 2 other one-act plays and also 2 full-length plays. That's in total 13 plays. 2 full-length plays and 11 one-act plays. And any theatre out there, any adventurous theatre out there that is looking to stage some new plays. I have 3 excellent, well, I think a very highly entertaining one-act plays waiting to be staged, with an overall cast of 24, 12 actors, 12 actresses. So any adventurous theatres out there that want to put 24 of your members, on the stage, drop me an email, and I will certainly get them 3 one-act plays off to your theatre. Doesn't have to be from Ireland, from any country in the world. I will send them off, and I appreciate that. Anyways, back to James Joyce's Ulysses again. So we finished up the last day at page 63, and as I said before, it'd be a good idea if people marked off the pages with a pen or pencil. Let me see, a second. Now this is a raw and unplugged recording, so there's going to be hesitations. There's going to be probably coughs. You probably may hear me drinking tea every now and again, and sometimes I'm going to hesitate because I'm looking and reading and thinking at the same time. So please excuse that. And you're going to hear a lot. This is raw and unplugged, as they say in the music business. Is that what they say? Bruce Springsteen, raw and unplugged, whatever singer. So yes, page 63. We finished up at. Okay, I'm going to read back the last paragraph again. Just keeping alive, Mackay said. We covered all this, but I'm going to lead into the start again. His eyes in the black tie and clothes, he asked with low respect, "Is there any? No trouble, I hope. I see you're." "Oh no," Mr. Bloom said. "Poor Dignam, the funeral is today." "To be sure, poor fellow." "So it is. What time?" "A photo, it isn't. A badge, maybe." Yeah, we covered all this. E11, Mr. Bloom answered. "I must try to get out there," Mackay said. 11, is it? That's a real Irish way of saying things. 11, is it now? I only heard it last night. Who was telling me?" This is actually Mackay speaking here now, so I'm going to start here again. "I must try to get out there to the funeral," Mackay said. 11, is it? I only heard it last night. Who was telling me? Houlihan. Hoppy. Hoppy Houlihan. "I know," Mr. Bloom answered. So I'll read the next paragraph. Mr. Bloom gazed across the road at the outsider. Just briefly now, as I said before, it would be a very good idea if listeners could read ahead. I'm going to get through 5.5 pages at this sitting. That should take an hour and 20 minutes. And it would be a good idea if listeners could read ahead, these 5 or 6 pages, and try and figure out, for yourselves what's going on, and so on and so forth. It's only when you actually read it yourself and the imagery comes alive in your mind, so to speak. And as I said before, Joyce will take you to Dublin on this day and put you on the street. There's no doubt about that. And then if after studying, is study the right word to use? These pages, then you can listen to me and you basically won't have a clue, but whatever. You get the gist of what I'm saying. So Mr. Bloom gazed across the road at the outsider drawn up before the door of the grosvenor. The porter hoisted the valise up on the well. She stood still, waiting, while the man, husband, brother, like her, searched his pockets for change. Stylish kind of coat with that roll collar, warm for a day like this, looks like blanket cloth. Careless stand of her with her hands in those patch pockets, like that haughty creature at the polo match. Women all for cast till you touch the spot. Handsome is, handsome does. Handsome is and handsome does. Reserved, about to yield. The Honourable Mrs. and Brutus is an honourable man. Possessor wants to take the starch out of her. So, listeners, if you read over that, I'm sure you understand every word that's gone on there. And if you don't, here's what I think is going on. Anyways, so Mr. Bloom gazed. Okay, let me read the 2 or 3 lines previously. I must try to get out there. Mackay said. 11, is it? Now this. Mackay is saying to Mr. Bloom, I must try and get to the funeral of this person that died, Dignan. 11 is this, the funeral. I only heard it last night. He heard it last night. Who was telling me? Houlihan, Happy. So Happy Houlihan told him about this funeral. I know, Mr. Bloom said. Answered. Now, Mr. Bloom gazed across the road at the outsider drawn up before the door of the grosvenor. Now, Mr. Bloom looked across the road at the outsider. What is the outsider? What is this outsider? Gazed across the door at the outsider drawn up before the door of the grosvenor. Now, the outsider, I think, is like in horse racing. We'll say you have 10 horses in a race, and the one that would be the least favoured horse, let's say the favourite is even money, and then your next horse is 2 to 1, 5, the next horse is 5 to 1, 7 to 1, and then there's an outsider. He'd be the highest odds, maybe 20 to 1. He would be considered an outsider in the whole race. And you might hear about, who won the race? The outsider won the race, meaning the horse with the longest odds, the horse with the least chance of winning won the race. So I think here the outsider is a horse, and this is Joyce's. You see, this is what Joyce is doing all the time in Ulysses. He's getting the reader to think. He's getting you to use your visual intelligence, and getting you to visualize things and thinking. This is what he does all the time. Mr. Bloom gazed across the road at the outsider, a horse drawn up before the door of the grosvenor. The grosvenor, I would say, is a hotel. So the horse drawn up before the door of this hotel. The porter hoisted the valise, which is the luggage. The porter hoisted the valise up on the well, which is probably the step up into the carriage, I would say. She stood still, waiting, while the man, husband, brother, like her, searched his pockets for change. She stood still. There's a woman. This is the woman he's talking about. She stood still, so she's waiting at the carriage door, while a man, and Leopold Bloom is thinking, is it her husband? Or he's thinking, no, it's probably her brother. Like her, this person looks like her, so it's probably her brother. Searched his pockets for change to pay this porter, probably. Pay him a tip or whatever. Then Mr. Bloom is thinking, stylish kind of coat with that roll collar. Leopold Bloom is thinking, this lady has got a stylish kind of coat with that roll collar. She's kind of got a roll collar. And then he's thinking, it's warm for a day like this. And then he thinks, looks like blanket cloth, her coat. And then he thinks, careless stand The careless stand of her with her hands in those patch pockets. Now you can nearly visualize this well-dressed lady. Um, where am I tall? Careless stand of her with her hands in those patch pockets. Now that's brilliant image from Joyce there again. You can just visualize that woman standing like a lady kind of and putting her hands in these patch pockets. Like that haughty creature of the polo match. Haughty, snob. Like that haughty creature at the polo match. This woman looks like her. Woman all for cast. 1 second now, I just want to check something. A class of society, so on. She's of the well-to-do, people. What till you touch the spot? What spot? I don't know what spot Joyce is referring to here, but women all for cast till you touch the spot. Joyce's humor here again. Handsome is and handsome does. Reserved, about to yield. Thinking about a woman. She's reserved. She's about to yield before, make love, so on. Think along them lines. The Honourable Mr., Mrs. and Brutus is an honourable man. Now, I'm not sure about that, but it's something along them lines. Possess her once, take the starch out of her. Joyce. Possess her once, take the starch out of her. We think what that is about. Next line. I told you Joyce was a very humorous writer. Next line, next paragraph. I was with Bob Doran. He's on one of his periodical bins, and what do you call him? Bantam lines. Just down there in Conway's we were. Doran lines in Conway's. She raised a gloved hand to her hair. In cam happy, having a wet. Drawing back his head and gazing fair from beneath his veiled eyelids, he saw the bright fawn skin shine in the glare, the braided drums. Clearly I can see today, moisture about, gives long sight perhaps, talking of one thing or another. Lady's hand, which side will she get up? And he said, sad thing about our poor friend Paddy. What Paddy? I said. Poor Paddy Dignam, he said. Just reading over that again. So, this Mackay fellow is saying, I was with Bob Doran, a person called Bob Doran, in a pub probably. He's on one of his periodical bins, meaning this Bob Doran. When they say in Ireland here, he's on a bin, it means he's on like a drinking spree. He's, drinking non-stop for a few days, non-stop. They refer to it here as a bend. Is he on a bend? Yes. Sorry, I just dropped my headphones there. He's on one of his periodical bins. Every now and again he goes on these bins. He drinks for a few days non-stop. And that means a bend is another word for like a drinking spree, And what do you call him? Bantam Lines. There's another person that was in the pub. Just down there in Conway's we were, which is Conway's is obviously a pub. We were down, all drinking in a pub called Conway's. Doran Lines in Conway's. Doran Lines in Conway's. So this is Leopold Bloom, I would just say. He's thinking that Doran Lines in Conway's. She raised a gloved hand to her hair. Now this is the lady across the street, the well-to-do lady. She raised a gloved hand to her hair. Now this is Mackay speaking again. In cam Happy, this Happy Houlihan, into the pub. Now this is Mackay speaking. Having a wet. I don't know what having a wet is. Maybe wanting to go to the bathroom, possibly. Drawing back her head and gazing from beneath. Drawing back his head and gazing fair from beneath his veiled eyelids. He saw the bright fawn skin shine in the glare. That's great, I am Joyce. So Leopold Bloom, drawing back his head, he drew back his head and gazing fair from beneath his veiled eyelids. Now he's gazing from fair beneath his veiled eyelids. He saw the bright fawn skin shine in the glare. That's of the lady across the street. The braided drums. So around her ear, her hair is kind of braided. Very clear imagery from Joyce there again. Clearly I can see today. Clearly I can see today. Now this is Leopold Bloom thinking. He's saying, I can see clearly today. Moisture about gives long sight perhaps. So he's thinking there's moisture in the air, and it gives, you can see better, there's a bit of moisture in the air. That's what's going on there. Talking of one thing or another. Now, this is the lady and her brother, it seems, talking to the porter person, talking of one thing or another. Lady's hand. So he's looking at the lady's hand, of this lady across the street. Which side will she get up? Which side will she get up? Which side will she get up on the carriage, the horse carriage? Next line. And he said, this is Mackay speaking now again. So he's thinking and he's looking at this lady across the street. And at the same time, this Mackay is speaking to him. This is all going on at the same time. And he said, now Mackay is speaking, say a thing about our poor friend Paddy. What, Paddy? So Mackay said to this Hoppy Hoolan. Hoppy Hoolan came in, he said, say a thing about our poor friend Paddy. What Paddy? Mackay said to him in the pub. I said, poor little Paddy Dignam, he said. Poor little Paddy. This is Hoppy Hoolan said to him in the pub. Now I'll read the next paragraph. Off to the country, Broadstone, probably. High brown boots with laces dangling, well-turned foot. What is he fostering over that change for? Sees me looking, eye out for other fella always. Good fallback, 2 strings to a bow. Why, I said, what's wrong with him? I said. Poor, proud, rich silk stockings. Yes, Mr. Bloom said. He moved a little to the side of Mackay's talking head. Getting up in a minute. Now, let me just go through that now again. There, Okay, off to the country, Broadstone probably. Now this is Leopold Bloom thinking. He's thinking about the lady across the street, and he says, off to the country. She's going to the country in this horse-drawn carriage. Broadstone probably, which is a place in the country probably. High brown boots with laces dangling. This lady across the street is wearing high brown boots with laces dangling. Well-turned foot. She's got a What is he fostering over that change for? Now this, he's thinking, what is her brother fostering, over the change with the porter person? So he must be, he must, I know, the arguing about the change. What is he fostering over that change for? He's hasn't paid him his tip yet, it seems. Sees me looking. Now this is the lady, looks over at Leopold Bloom, and Leopold Bloom sees her looking at him, and he said, sees me looking. She sees me looking at her. And then he thinks, eye for the other fellow always. He's thinking about the woman. She's an eye for the other fellow always. Good fallback. Good fallback, meaning if she breaks up with one fella, there's another fella fallback. 2 strings to her bow. That's pretty self-explanatory. So let me go on. Let me read that again now. Why? I'll read the next paragraph. Why? I said, what's wrong with him? I said. Why? I said, what's wrong with him? Now this is Mackay saying to Hoppy Hole in the pub. Why? I said, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with Paddy Dignam? Proud, rich silk stockings. Now this is Leopold Bloom thinking about the lady across the street. She looks proud, she looks rich, and she's wearing silk stockings. Yes, Mr. Bloom said. So now Mr. Bloom answered Mackay. He said, yes, Mr. Bloom said. He moved, Joyce has come back in here again. He moved a little to the side of Mackay's talking head. So did you visualize Mackay's head talking? Great imagery from Joyce. Getting up in a minute. Now, this is Leopold Bloom thinking, this lady across the street is getting up in a minute. She's getting up into the carriage in a minute. So I'm going to read the next paragraph. What's wrong with him? He said. He's dead, he said, and faith, he filled up. Is it Paddy Dignam? I said. I couldn't believe it when I heard it. I was with him no later than Friday last, or Thursday. Was it in the arch? Yes, he said. He's gone. He died on Monday, poor fellow. Watch. Silk flesh, rich stockings, white watch. A heavy tramcar honking its gong, slewed between. Lost it. Curse your noisy pugnose. Feels locked out of it. Paradise and the Perry. Always happening like that. the very moment. I'm going to read over that again. I for the other fellow was good fallbacks, 2 strings for a bow. Why? I said. So this is Mackay speaking to Leopold Bloom, and he's gone over what happened in the pub last night when he was talking to Happy Hoolan. Why? I said, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with Penny Dignam? Now, this is Leopold Bloom. Proud, rich silk stockings. Oh, yeah, I went over this. Yes, Mr. Bloom said. He moved a little to the side of Mackay's talking. Get him a minute. What's wrong with him? He said. What's wrong with him? He said. He's dead, he said. Meaning Dignam is dead. And faith he filled up. And faith he filled up. This is Mackay saying, and faith he filled up. Now, this is the difference. This is the difference between storytelling and writing, which is, is prevalent completely throughout this book. And faith he filled up. And faith he filled up. And faith he filled up with tears. So this Happy Hoolan filled up with tears, and faith he filled up with tears. Is it Paddy Dignam? I said. So, is it Paddy Dignam? I said. I couldn't believe it when I heard it. I was with him. I was with Paddy Dignam. I was with him no later than Friday last or Thursday. Was it in the Arch? Was another pub, I would say. Yes, he said. Happy Hoolan said to him. Yes, he said. He's gone. He died on Monday. Poor fellow. Watch, silk flash, rich stockings, white watch. Now this is Leopold Bloom still watching this lady across the street, and he said, watch. This lady is getting up into the car, so watch. What is he watching? He's watching to see can he get a peek under her dress, obviously. Watch, silk flash, rich stockings, white watch. A heavy tramcar honking its gong slewed between. So a heavy tramcar honking its gong slewed between. It blocked his view. Lost it. He can't see her no more. Curse your noisy pug nose. Pug nose. Great writing from Joyce there. Pug nose. The horn. Called a pug nose. Curse your noisy pug nose. So, he couldn't see the lady no more. Fees locked out of it. Probably referring to this tramcar. He had to get involved. Paradise and the Perry. Probably referring to some book or something. Always happening like that. It always happens at the very moment. Girl in Eustage Street hallway Monday was it settling her garter. Her friend said, covering the display of Esprit de Corps. Well, what are you gaping at? Yes, Mr. Bloom said after a dull sigh, another gone. One of the best, Mackay said. The tram passed, they drove off towards the loop line bridge, her rich gloved hand on the steel grip. Flicker, flicker, the lace flare of her hat in the sun. Flicker, flick. Excuse me. Wife, well, I suppose. Mackay changed voice said. Oh, yes, Mr. Bloom said. Tip-top, thanks. He unrolled the newspaper batten idly and read idly. What is home without plum trees, potted meat, incomplete, with it an abode of bliss? So, the very moment, girl, always happening like that, the very moment, girl in Eustace Street. So now he's thinking about a girl he's seen in Eustace Street. Monday was it, last Monday, she was settling her garter. Her friend, covering the display, didn't want anyone to see. Esprit de Corps, that means common union together, so on. Well, what are you gaping at? So Leopold Bloom was being gaping at her, and this our friend said, well, what are you gaping at? Next line. Yes, Mr. Bloom said after a dull sigh, another gone. So now he's engaged in the conversation with this Mackay. He said, yes, Mr. Bloom said after a dull sigh, another gone, meaning Dignam. One of the best, Mackay said. The tram passed, they drove off towards the loop line bridge. So the tram passed, and the horse and buggy, obviously, they drove off towards the loop line bridge, her rich gloved hand on the steel rail. Well, you know something. I think Joyce could have possibly tripped us up here. You know, um, it is possible he could have tripped us up here, and he could have made it out to look like it was a horse, and maybe she just got on this tram care after all. Um, it's possible. Well, whatever. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But it it's possible. The tram passed. They drove off towards the Loop Line Bridge. Her rich gloved hand on the steel grip. Flicker, flicker. The lace fair. It's hard. It is just hard to know. Did she just get on the tram or did she get on this horse? Um, I'm not 100% sure about that. I'd have to study it probably more. But the tram passed, and yeah, she could have just drove off on the horse. They drove off towards the Loop Line Bridge, which could be the horse and buggy. Her rich gloved hand on the steel grip. Um, could be on the carriage too. You wouldn't know. Flicker, flicker. The lace flare of her hat in the sun. That's great writing, Joyce. The lace flare. Visualize a ribbon on her hat. The lace flare of her hat in the sun. Flicker, flick. Great imagery from Joyce. Wife, well, I suppose Mackay's changed voice asked. So Mackay asked Leopold Bloom, is your wife okay? Oh, yes, Mr. Bloom said. Tip top, thanks, tip top. She's in tip top shape. She's fine. He unrolled the newspaper, battened idly and read idly. What is home without Plumtree's potted meat? Incomplete with it an abode of bliss. Reading on. My missus has just got an engagement. At least it's not settled yet. Valas tech again. By the way, no harm. I'm off that. Thanks. Mr. Bloom turned his large lidded eyes with unhasty friendliness. My wife too, he said. She's going to sing at a swagger affair in the Ulster Hall, Belfast on the 25th. That's so, Mackay said. Glad to hear that, old man. Who's getting it up? Miss Marion Bloom, not up yet. Queen was in her bedroom eating bread, and no book. Blackened court cards laid along her tie by sevens, dark lady and fair man. Cat furry black ball, torn strip of envelope. Love's old sweet song. Comes love old. Just going over that now again there. So this is Mackay speaking. My missus has just got an engagement. So his missus got an engagement. At least it's not settled yet. We don't know what kind of an engagement it is yet, but it's not settled yet. It's not, it hasn't been finalised. Now, Valas Tech again. By the way, no harm. I'm off that. Thanks. Valas Tech again. Now, Valas is luggage. It's a small. Valas is a small. It's like luggage case. More or less. Valas Tech again. Valas Tech again. By the way, no harm. I'm off that. Thanks. By the way, no harm. I'm off that. Thanks. I don't know what that means, to be honest. I'd have to give that more thought. I will give it more thought, and if I can add more to that, I will. Valas Tech again. So I think Valas Tech again, that could possibly mean that another suitcase, the porter has taken out another suitcase and it's on the edge of outside this hotel, this Grosvenor Hotel. Valas Tech again. By the way, no harm. I'm off that. Thanks. By the way, no harm. I'm off that. Thanks. Not sure about that now, to be honest. Mr. Bloom turned his large lidded eyes with unhasty friendliness. My wife too, he said. So this is Leopold Bloom speaking again. My wife too, he said to Mackay. She's going to sing at a swagger affair in the Ulster Hall, Belfast on the 25th. So Molly Bloom is going to swing at a swagger affair, like a posh affair in the Ulster Hall on the 25th. That's so, Mackay said. Glad to hear that, old man. Who's getting it up? Who's getting it up? So I actually figured out Molly Bloom is like an opera singer. She sings in operas. I think. So my wife too. She's going to sing at a swagger affair in Ulster Hall. In the opera, it seems. That's so, Mackay said. Glad to hear that, old man. Who's getting it up? Who's getting it up? Who's getting it up? Now, okay. Now, if I was to hazard a guess here, I would say that this other piece, this valise, this piece of luggage across the street, who's getting it up? I think Leopold Bloom is looking and he's thinking, who's getting it up? Who's going to lift this suitcase onto? Probably another horse and buggy would have pulled up, I would say. And he's saying, who's getting it up? Miss Marion Bloom, not up yet. And then he thinks Miss Marion Bloom not up yet. His wife, she's not up from bed, possibly. Queen was in her bedroom eating bread, and so he's kind of thinking of like a nursery rhyme, kind of. Queen was in her bedroom eating bread and jam, I would say. No book. No book. No book. No book. He's probably thinking about the book he couldn't find in the bedroom, possibly. Blackened court cars laid along her thigh by sevens. Dark lady and fair man. Now, this could possibly be another lady across the street. I'm not really sure about this. But Queen was in her bedroom eating bread and jam, I would say. He's thinking about Molly Bloom, I would say. No book. No book. He could be thinking about his wife and couldn't find the book. That scenario. Or it could be another lady across the street who doesn't have a book in her hand. I don't know. Blackened court cars laid along her thigh by sevens. Now, blackened court cars laid along her thigh by sevens. I think that is like a lady's stockings that are, they're blackened court cars laid along her thigh by sevens. And the whole, pattern of these stockings are, they're like cars. They're like cars. Blackened court cars laid along her thigh by sevens. They're like cars. This is the pattern on these black stockings, if I was to say. So this could be on another lady across the street. Dark lady and fair man. So she's wearing dark stockings, and this is the pattern of these stockings. It's possible. Not 100% sure about this now, but I'd be more inclined to think along them lines. Dark lady and fair men. So could be the other lady across the street. Cat furry black ball. Now he's thinking about his cat, at the bottom of Molly Bloom's bed, possibly. Yes, he is actually. Cat furry black ball, torn strip of envelope, under the bed or under the pillow. Molly Bloom with the letter and the torn strip of envelope was coming out. Or this blackened court cars laid along her thigh by sevens. Laid by sevens. Could be, her black stockings too. I'm not sure about that. It's either one or the other, but that's kind of the gist of what's going on there. Love's old sweet song comes over old, but blackened court cars laid along her thigh by sevens. That could be the black stockings, yes, the pattern on them. Reading on. It's a kind of tour, don't you see? Mr. Bloom said thoughtfully. Sweet song. There's a committee formed, pair chairs and pair prophets. Mackay nodded, picking at his moustache stubble. Oh, well, he said, that's good news. He moved to go. Well, glad to see you looking fit, he said. Meet you knocking around. Yes, Mr. Bloom said. Tell you what, Mackay said, you might put down my name at the funeral, will you? I'd like to go, but I mightn't be able, you see. There's a drowning case at Sandycove. May turn up, and then the coroner and myself would have to go down if the body is found. You just shove in my name if I'm not there, will you? I'll do that, Mr. Bloom said, moving to get off. That'll be all right. Right, Mr. Mackay said brightly. Thanks, old man. I'd go if I possibly could. Well, tall all, just C.P. Mackay will do. Read over that again. So Mr. Bloom said it's a kind of tour that his wife is going to be singing in this Ulster Hall. It's a kind of tour, don't you see, Mr. Bloom said thoughtfully. Sweet song. Must be a song she's going to sing. There's a committee formed for this tour. Pair chairs and pair prophets. They're going to get pair chairs. That's how they get paid, probably. Mackay nodded, picking at his moustache stubble. So Mackay nodded, picking at his moustache stubble. So if I was to guess here, I would say that Mackay seems a little bit envious or jealous, You can visualize him there just picking at his mustache stubble, like, oh, not wanting to hear this, you know. Oh, well, he said, that's good news. This is Mackay speaking. He moved to go, and you see, he moved to go because he couldn't bear to hear this this news, you know. Which actually, now that I'm on the subject, you know, James Joyce himself, you know, lived most of his life in France, and yeah, he left Ireland, and you know, a lot of people, you know, blamed the Catholic Church and so on and so forth but in actual fact, it wasn't completely the Catholic Church at all that was against Joyce. A lot of the writers of the day were people say that a lot of the writers of that time were envious and jealous of the attention Joyce was getting, but in actual fact, if you look at it, what they were probably really jealous of, the writers of that time, they were jealous of Joyce's writing talent and his genius writing ability. That's what they were really jealous of. They weren't jealous of the attention Joyce was getting. They were jealous of his writing talent, you know, and that's plain as day, you know. So Joyce suffered a lot from that. Other fellow writers were just envious of him, you know. It's a kind. Okay, Mackay. Oh, well, he said, that's good news. He moved to go. You see, this person wants to go because he can't stand to hear the news. This news of Leo or Molly Bloom singing in this concert. Well, glad to see you looking fit, he said. Meet you knocking around. This is Mackay still speaking to Leopold Bloom. Well, glad to see you looking fit. Meet you knocking around. I'll meet you, you know, again. Yes, Mr. Bloom said. Tell you what, Mackay said, you might put down my name at the funeral, will you? So now just 1 second. 1 second. I told you this was raw and unplugged, but I've learned to cough away from the microphone. But whatever. Tell you what, Mackay said, you might put down my name at the funeral, will you? I'd like to go, but I mightn't be able to. So obviously at this funeral, the funerals in them times, they would probably, you know, you'd sign a book or you'd sign a sheet of paper or something, and that's how they know that the funeral, like a condolence book or something along them lines. Tell you what, Mackay said, you might put down my name at the funeral, will you? I'd like to go, but I mightn't be able to, you see. Jesus, humour again. There's a drowning case at Sandycove. Now, this is remember the person we touched upon earlier, the drowning case? There's a drowning case at Sandycove. May turn up. Yeah, remember it's going to turn up in the 9th day. And then the coroner and myself would have to go down if the body is found. You just shove in my name if I'm not there, will you? So Mackay is asking Leopold Bloom here to put down his name, you know, on this book of condolences, you know, more or less saying that he was at the funeral when in actual fact he wasn't. You just shove in my name if I'm not there, will you? I'll do that, Mr. Bloom said, moving to get off. That'll be all right. Right, Mackay said brightly. Thanks, old man. I'd go if I possibly could. Well, Talal, just C.P. Mackay will do. Just put down my name, C.P. Mackay, you know, and pretend I was at the funeral when in actual fact he wasn't. Okay, I read now. That will be done, Mr. Bloom answered firmly. So Mr. Bloom said, yes, I'll do that for you. Now read this next paragraph. Didn't catch me napping that wheeze. The quick touch, soft mark. I'd like my job, Vallis. I've a particular fancy for leather, capped corners, riveted edges, double action lever lock. Bob Cowley lent him his for the Wicklow Regatta concert last year and never heard tidings of it from that good day to this. Mr. Bloom, strolling towards Brunswick Street, smiled. My missus has got an really freckled soprano, cheese-paring nose, nice enough in its way for a little ballad, no guts in it. You and me, don't you know, in the same boat, soft soaping. Give you the needle that would. Can't he hear the difference? Think he's that way inclined a bit. Against my grain somehow. thought that Belfast would fetch him. I hope that smallpox up there doesn't get worse. Suppose she wouldn't let herself be vaccinated again, your wife and my wife. Wonder if they pimping after me. So just going through that again. So didn't catch me napping that wheeze. I'm not 100% sure about this line, but I think this is it's Leopold Bloom thinking here, and he's didn't catch me napping that wheeze. I would say that Leopold Bloom is thinking here, I hope Mackay didn't see me looking at that girl across the street. That kind of would make sense. Didn't catch me napping that wheeze. No, but I'm not completely certain about that. Didn't catch me napping that wheeze. The quick touch, soft mark. Not sure about that either. The quick touch, soft mark. Not sure about them too. I like my job. Not sure about that. Yeah, this whole paragraph, I'm not sure about it. I have to give it more thought. But I'm going to go through it. I know. The quick touch, soft mark. I'd like my job. Valise, I have a particular fancy for. Valise, like a luggage case. This leather, yes, it's made of leather. Capped corners, yes, visualize a suitcase made of leather, capped corners. Riveted edges, yes, great, very precise writing from Joyce. Double action lever lock, yes, referring to the suitcase. Bob Coley lent him his for the Wicklow Regatta concert last year, and never had tidings of it from that good day to this. So this person called Bob Coley lent his suitcase to somebody, possibly Mackay, not sure, for the Wicklow Regatta concert last year. Yeah, I would say it's Mackay. For the Wicklow Regatta concert last year, and never got it back. I never got it back from. I never had tidings of it from that good day to this. Mr. Bloom, strolling towards Brunswick Street, smiled. Now he's strolling along this Brunswick Street. He smiled. My missus has got an. Now he's thinking about what Mackay said to him. Mackay said to him, my missus has got. Remember, Mackay said, my missus has got an engagement or something. So he's thinking about what Mackay said. My missus has got an engagement. Reedy Frickle soprano. So Leopold Bloom is thinking about Mackay's wife. She's a Reedy Frickle soprano. So she is obviously a singer as well. Mackay's wife is a singer, the same as Molly Bloom. So he says she's a Reedy Frickle soprano. Cheese paring nose. She's got a cheese paring nose. That's what he's more or less saying. Frickles and so on. Nice enough in its way. Nice enough. Mackay's wife's voice is nice enough in its way. It's not a bad voice. It's nice in its way for a little ballad. It's a nice voice for a ballad, No guts in it. But there's no guts in her voice. Mackay's wife's voice. You and me, don't you know? Now he's thinking about Mackay said to him, you and me, don't you know? So Mackay, when he mentioned this to Leopold Bloom, he was kind of saying, oh, you and me, we're together and all this. You and me, don't you know? In the same boat, both our wives sing, soft soaping. Soft soaping here in Ireland is an expression. When someone is trying to soft soap you, it means they're trying to butter you up. They're trying to be nice to you to get some kind of a reward. They're being friendly to you for a reason. They're soft soaping you. That's what that means. You and me, don't you know, in the same boat, soft soaping me. Like soft soap. So Mackay was soft soaping Leopold Bloom. That's what he's thinking. Give you the needle, that would. He's more or saying, that would give you the needle. That would make you angry, Can't he hear the difference? So Leopold Bloom is thinking, can't Mackay hear the difference with his wife's voice and Leopold or Molly Bloom's voice? Obviously, Molly Bloom is a streets ahead a better singer. Think he's that way inclined a bit. Could possibly mean that he thinks Mackay is a bit of a woman or something, I would say. Against my grain somehow. Leopold Bloom is thinking, he's against my grain. I don't like him, kind of, more or less. Thought that Belfast would fetch him. So when Leopold Bloom mentioned to Mackay about the Belfast gig, it threw him off kilter, basically, because this Belfast gig is a big affair. So Leopold Bloom was thinking, thought that Belfast would fetch him, would get to him, make him angry, kind of. It's a bigger event, obviously, than Mackay's wife's, gig. I hope that smallpox up there doesn't get worse. So obviously up in Belfast at that time there was smallpox, and he's thinking, I hope the smallpox up there doesn't get worse. Suppose she won't let herself be vaccinated again. So Leopold Bloom is thinking about his wife Molly Bloom. Suppose she won't won't let herself be vaccinated again. So, he's thinking Molly Bloom. Molly Bloom may not want to get vaccinated again. Your wife and mine. Now he's thinking about Mackay, what he said. Your wife and mine. Wonder is he pimping after me? Wondering is he following me? Next paragraph. Mr. Bloom stood at the corner, his eyes wandering over the multicoloured hoardings. Cantrell and Cochrane's ginger ale. Aromatic. Cleary's summer sale. No, he's going on straight. Hello. Late tonight. Mrs. Man Palmer. Like to see her in that again. Hamlet she played last night. Male impersonator. Perhaps he's a woman. Why, a fellow committed suicide. Poor Papa. How he used to talk about Kate Bateman in that. Outside the Adelphi in London. Waited all the afternoon to get in. Year before I was born, that was 65, and Ristori in Vienna. What is this the right name is? By Mosenthal, is it? Rachel, is it? No. The sins he was always talking about when the old blind Abraham recognizes the vice and puts his fingers on his face. So, going back over that again. Wonder is he pimping after me? Wondering is he following me? Mr. Bloom stood at the corner, his eyes wandering over the multicoloured hoardings. So he's looking at hoardings on the street. He sees Cantrell and Cochrane's ginger ale, Cleary's summer sale. That's what he sees, like posters, hoardings, something along them lines. Then he thinks, no, he's going on straight. Mackay is going on straight. He's, hello, let tonight. So he's looking at these hoardings and, posters or whatnot. Hello, let tonight. So there's a poster there for le. It's it could be an opera, it could be a movie, it could be something along them lines. Mrs. Benjamin Palmer, this is a lady that's probably starring in it. Like to see her in that again, in that Hamlet she played. This lady called Miss Benjamin Palmer played Hamlet. She played last night. Male, so in this Hamlet that was on last night, male impersonator. Perhaps he was a woman. The male impersonator. Joyce's humour again. Think about it. Why, a fellow committed suicide. Poor Papa. Now Leopold Bloom starts thinking about his father. Poor Papa. See? What he was thinking here has sparked his memories of his father. So he thinks, poor Papa. How he used to talk about Kate Bateman in Othello. So his father used to talk about an actress called Kate Bateman in who was a star in Othello. So poor Papa, how he used to talk about Kate Bateman and that outside the Adelphi in London. Outside the Adelphi in London, his Leopold Bloom's father, Papa, waited outside the Adelphi in London all afternoon to get in. Year before I was born, it happened the year before I was born. That was 65. And Ristori in Vienna. What is this the right name is? By Monsantal, is it? Rachel, is it? He's thinking about this now. No, the scene he was always talking about. Now he's thinking about his father again. His father was always talking about the scene. The scene he was always talking about when the old blind Abraham recognizes the vice and puts his fingers on his face. Now this, I would say, is... we have the dash here in front of this next line. Actually, I will read it. Nathan's voice, his son's voice. I hear the voice of Nathan, who left his father to die of grief and misery in my arms, who left the house of his father and left the God of his father. Every word is so deep, Leopold. Poor Papa, poor man. I'm glad I didn't go into the room to look at his face that day. Oh dear, fool. Well, perhaps it was the best for him. So Nathan's voice. So we have the dash here. That denotes dialogue in Joyce's invented grammar. Joyce invented his own grammar. Possibly the greatest writer ever invented his own grammar. and well entitled to do what he was. Nathan's voice. Um, so this is Leopold Bloom. I'd say probably speaking out, not loud. I'd say in whispers, but he's taken off. He's imitating his father's voice from the past. Nathan's voice, his son's voice. I hear the voice of Nathan, who left his father to die of grief and misery in my arms, who left the house of his father and left the God of his father. So Leopold Bloom's father used to say this probably a lot when Leopold Bloom was growing up, and so he just recited what his father said. Every word is so deep, Leopold. So his father used to say this to him. Every word is so deep, from this opera or whatever it is. Or Shakespeare play. I'm not really sure. It doesn't really matter. Now he's thinking, poor Papa, poor man. He's thinking about his father. I'm glad I didn't go into the room to look at his face. That day, oh dear, fool. Well, perhaps it was the best for him. So, if I was to hazard a guess here now, I would say that Leopold Bloom's father was killed in some kind of an accident. Poor Papa, poor Papa. I'm glad I didn't go into the room to look at his face. So something happened to his face that day. Oh dear, fool. Well, perhaps it was the best for him. They didn't see him like that. Something happened to his face. Possibly could have been killed in an accident. We don't know yet, but I'm sure before this book was out, we will find out. Moving on, next page, which is page 66 here now. Mr. Bloom went round the corner and past the drooping nags of the hazard. No use thinking of it any more. Nosebag time. Wish I had met that Mackay fellow. He came nearer and heard the crunching of gilded oats, the gently champing teeth. Their full buck eyes regarded him as he went by amid the sweet oaten reek of horse piss. Jice. See, well, Jice lulls you into a sense of, beautiful scene, and next thing he hits you with a word like that. They're Eldorado, poor Jugginsons. Damn all they know about or care about anything with their long noses stuck in nose bags, too full for words. Still they get their feet all right, and their doth gelded to a stump of black gutter percha wagging limp between their haunches. Might be happy all the same that way. Good poor brutes they look. Still their neigh can be very irritating. He drew the letter from his pocket and folded it into the newspaper he carried. Might just walk into her here. The lane is safer. He passed the cabman's shelter. Curious the life of drifting cabbies. All weathers, all places, time are set down, no will of their own. Voglio Inon, like to give them an odd cigarette, sociable, shout a few flying syllables as they pass. He hummed, La Siderim, La Mano, La 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 La. It's kind of late at night here, so excuse a little hesitations here, because I'm having a hard job seeing, well, not a hard job seeing the words, but it's I have to concentrate. In my home village of Monavea here, which is 15 miles from Galway City. Any tourists ever coming to Ireland, make sure you drop into the village of Monavea. Very scenic village. So going over that again, Mr. Bloom went round the corner and past the drooping nags of the hazard, which are horses. Of the hazard, is... what is the hazard? The hazard is... it doesn't really matter what it is. It's this... in them times, there was no more... yeah, well, it was mostly horses and horse-drawn carriages. And, there was horses, and they had to be fed, and there was probably, visualize taxi ranks, visualize, horse ranks, probably, kind of along them lines. Miss Bloom around the corner and past the drooping nags of the hazard. That could be like, a horse shelter, kind of. No use thinking of it anymore. Now Leopold Bloom is thinking about his father and whatever happened to him. No use thinking of it anymore. Nosebag time. Now he's looking at all these horses. There's a few horses lined up here. Nosebag time. So there's nosebags tied around their head and they're eating. Coming up here is great imagery from Joyce. And actually, if you read it on your own, you really can visualize. And Joyce will send you to Dublin, in the street at this time. Nosebag time. Wish I had met that Mackay fellow. So now Leopold Bloom was thinking, I wish I had met that Mackay fellow. Excuse me. He came nearer and heard the crunching of gilded oats. So he's coming close to the horses. They're eating these nosebags full of oats. He came nearer and heard the crunching of gilded oats. That's great writing, Joyce. Gilded oats. You see, oats. If anyone knows what oats are, yes, they're like they're gold, like they're gilded. It's just great writing, Joyce. This is writing. This is not just storytelling. This is writing at its best. He came near and heard the crunching of gilded oats, the gentle champing teeth. Horses. Their full buck eyes regarded him as he went by. Just visualize he's about to walk by, and the horses are looking at him. Their full buck eyes regarded him as he went by amid the sweet oaten reek of horse piss. Jice. Their Eldorado. Eldorado. That's like under a song called Eldorado or something. There's their wealthy place. There's their Eldorado. Poor Jugginsons. I'm not sure about that, but whatever. Damn all they know or care about getting. Now, Leopold Bloom was thinking here, damn all they know or care about anything with their long noses stuck in nosebags. So he's thinking about horses. Damn all they know or care about anything with their long noses stuck in nosebags. Too full for words. He's thinking these horses are too full for words. Still they get their feed all right, and their dos, which is their sleep, right? Dos is like dos. It's a British slang for a place to sleep. That's what it means, I think. And they get their, place to put down their head and sleep. Gelded too. So now he's looking at the horses. Yes, they're gelded. What does gelded mean? I know what it means, but how will I explain it in a very sensitive sounding way? Gelded too. There were male horses, and they were gelded. You'll have to look up that word in the dictionary, I'm afraid. A stump of black gutter percha wagging limp between their haunches. Now he's thinking about after they're gelded, a stump of black limp between their haunches. Think about that. Then he thinks after they've been gelded, might be happy all the same that way. They might be happy all the same that way after being gelded. Good poor brutes they look. Now he's thinking these horses, good poor brutes they look. Still their neigh can be very irritating. Now he's thinking horses, their neigh can be very irritating. Okay, reading on. He drew the letter from his pocket and folded it into the newspaper he carried. Might just walk into her here. The lane is safer. He passed the cabman's shelter. Here we are, the cabman's shelter, yes. That's like a taxi rank in them time. The cabman's shelter. So these are the horses for the cabs. He passed the cabman's shelter. Curious the life of drifting cabbies. All weathers, all places. Time are set down. No will of their own. Oh yeah, I actually read that. So he passed the cabman's shelter, and now he's thinking about the drivers that drive these horse-drawn carriages. Curious the life of drifting cabbies. They're out in all weathers, all places, time or set down. They've no will of their own. Vogla enon, that's Latin or some language like that. It means something along what he's saying here, or thinking. Sorry, like to give. And then he thinks, like to give them a nod cigarette. So Leopold Bloom gives them a nod cigarette every now and again. Sociable, yeah, they're sociable, they're friendly. Shout a few flying syllables as they pass. Now that's just, that doesn't seem like much, but that's fantastic writing and Joyce there again. Visualize these cabbies that drive these horse-drawn carriages, and you can nearly see them there now clearly. They shout a few flying syllables as they pass. Visualize a horse going past them, and they shout a few flying syllables as they pass. They'll be humming a few songs or whatnot, or poems or whatever. And you'll be walking along the street. Next thing you'd hear, you'd hear a bit of somebody, one of these, coming out of nowhere and just singing, a verse of a song or so on. Shout a few flying syllables as they passed. You see, flying syllables. He hummed, la si da 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 la la la, whatever that means. Next line. He turned into Cumberland Street and going on some paces, halted in the lee of the station wall. No one. Meath timber yard, piled balks, ruins and tenements. With careful tread he passed over a hopscotch court with his forgotten picky stone. Not a sinner. Near the timber yard a squatted child at marbles alone, shooting the taw with his cunny thumb, a wise tabby, a blinking sphinx. Watch from her warm still, pity to disturb them. Mohammed cut a piece out of his mantle not to wake her, opened it, and once I played marbles when I went to that old dame's school. She liked Meg Nanetti, Mrs. Ellis, and Mr. He opened the letter within the newspaper. A flower, I think it's a yellow flower with flattened petals, not an eye. Then, what does she say? Going over that again. So he turned into Cumberland Street and going on some paces, halted in the lee of the station, which means the lee means the shelter. So he halted, he stopped in the lee of the station wall. So he stopped in front of it like a shelter wall. No one. There's no one about, he's thinking. Meath timber yard. So he's very close to Meath timber yard. Piled balks, which means piled wood. And then he's looking ruins and tenements. That's what he sees. With careful tread he passed. Now he's with careful tread he passed over a hopscotch court with its forgotten picky stone. Visualize that. With careful tread he's walking along, carefully, and he passed a hopscotch court. The hopscotch, squares on the ground with chalk, with its forgotten picky stone, the stone they used the kids for playing in this hopscotch. With careful tread he passed over a hopscotch court with its forgotten picky stone. That's great. Extremely visual from Joyce. Not a sinner. He's not a sinner. There's nobody about. That means not a sinner. Not a sinner means not a sinner is an Irish expression here. Oh, there's not a sinner around. It means there's nobody around. Not a sinner. Near the timber yard, a squatted child at marbles. So he sees a child playing marbles alone, shooting the taw with a cunny thumb. Shooting the taw is a kind of a game in marbles or something. A wise tabby. So he sees a cat. A wise tabby, a blinking sphinx, watched from her warm sill. So he sees the cat on her from her warm sill. She's the sun must be hitting the windowsill. Pity to disturb her, thinking about the cat. Now he's thinking Muhammad cut a piece out of his mantle not to wake her. So this Muhammad, he cut a piece out of Muhammad was possibly in the Muslim religion. It's possible cut a piece out of his mantle not to wake her. So Muhammad, like cats or something along them lines, and he didn't want to disturb his cat, so he cut a piece out of his mantle the way he wouldn't wake his pet cat, it seems. Open it. He's thinking about the letter. Will he open the letter he got at this telegraph office or post office, whatever? And now he's thinking, and once I played marbles when I went to that old dame's school. So now he's thinking, this is sparked, this is Ulysses through and through here now. One memory sparks another memory in his mind. So now he's thinking about the time he played marbles when he sees this young child playing marbles. And once I played marbles when I went to that old dame's school. So when he's school, he's thinking about a time he played marbles. She liked Meg Net. I don't know what that is. So he's thinking about this old lady there. Mrs. Ellis, probably a school teacher, and Mr. Her husband was probably a school teacher. He opened the letter within the newspaper. So now he opened the letter within the newspaper. A flower. So this is the letter he was feeling. Now he sees, yes, it was a flower. He thought it was a badge he was feeling with his fingers, and he wasn't sure whether it was a flower, a badge, whatever. A flower. I think it's a yellow flower with flattened petals. So there's a little yellow flower stuck on to this letter. Not an eye then. So he's thinking about the person that sent him this letter is not an eye. What does she say? So we know it's a woman. Gotta check something here now. Okay, we're doing alright on time. Now, next line. Dear Henry, I got your last letter to me and thank you very much for it. I am sorry you did not like my last letter. Why did you enclose the stamps? I am awfully angry with you. I do wish I could punish you for that. I called you naughty boy because I do not like the other world. Please tell me what is the real meaning of that word. Are you not happy in your home, you poor little naughty boy? I do wish I could do something for you. Please tell me what you think of poor me. I often think of the beautiful name you have, dear Henry. When will we meet? I think of you so often. You have no idea. I have never felt myself so much drawn to a man as you. I feel so bad about. Please write me a long letter and tell me more. Remember, if you do not, I will punish you. So now you know what I will do to you, you naughty boy, if you do not write. Oh, how I long to meet you, Henry dear. Do not deny my request before my patience are exhausted. Then I will tell you all. Goodbye now, naughty darling. I have such a bad headache today, and write by return to your longing, Martha. Just 1 second now. The raw and unplugged version. Martha. P.S. Do tell me what kind of perfume does your wife use? I want to know. So now he's reading this letter. Dear Henry, so when he picked up this letter at the post office, he said the letter was addressed to Henry Flower, Esquire, P.O. Westland Road City. So this letter is addressed to a person called Henry. So I would say at this moment in time that Leopold Bloom is pretending his name is Henry Flower, and this lady has written him a letter. Let me read it. We have to read the letter again. I got your last letter to me, and thank you very much for it. So this Leopold Bloom sent her a letter before. I am sorry you did not like my last letter. So Leopold Bloom is in correspondence with this woman for some reason. And after reading through this letter a few times, actually, it seems like they haven't actually met yet. And if I was to guess, I would say that they're like pen pals, I would say. They're like pen pals, and Leopold Bloom is pretending his name is Henry Flower. And they've been probably writing correspondence for, I don't know, many letters. And so she's replying to a letter that he sent her. And I think, they haven't actually met face to face yet, but they're just like pen pals. So she says, Dear Henry, I got your last letter to me and thank you very much for it. I am sorry you did not like my last letter. Why did you enclose the stamps? So she says to him, why did you enclose the stamps? Now I don't know what that means about enclosing the stamps. Possibly Leopold Bloom enclosed stamps for her to send the letter. He may have thought that, when he sent her the last letter, he might have enclosed a few stamps the way she could, keep sending them letters. And he might be thinking, he was obviously probably nervous when he enclosed these stamps, and he was probably thinking that she may not have the money for the stamps, if you know what I mean, along them lines, I would say. But as the letter goes on, he knows that I think she's a bit she's not poor anyways, but it may have been just a nervous reaction, I would say, because next line. I am awfully angry at you. So she says, I am awfully angry at you. I do wish I could punish you for that. So in this letter here, this is the genius of Joyce's writing here. It's a badly written letter. There's words missing and some misspelled words. But this is how this woman would write, But it's the pure exactness of Joyce's writing is great, I'm awfully angry at you. I do wish I could punish you for that. I called you naughty boy because I do not like that other world. WORLD. So she said, I do wish I could punish you for that. I called you naughty boy because so I called you naughty boy because I do not like that other world. I think what that means is, I called you naughty boy. So she called him naughty boy in a previous letter, and he's more or less saying, don't call me naughty boy or whatever. She said, because I do not like that other word. That means I do not like that other word, but she has misspelled the word. I do not like that other word. And now what would the other word to naughty boy be? I would say it's bold boy. I called you naughty boy because I do not like that other word. I called you naughty boy because I do not like that other word. And the other word, I would say it would be bold boy. Bold boy would be a common enough expression in Ireland here. So I called you naughty boy because I do not like that other word. Please tell me, what is the real meaning of that word? The real meaning of that word, if I was to guess, I would say the other word is bold. That's what I would say. I could be wrong. Are you not happy in your home, you poor little naughty boy? Jesus, humour here. So he's obviously telling her lies in this letter, because he's, making out he's a different person and so on. I would say, are you not happy in your home, you poor little naughty boy? I do wish I could do something for you. Please tell me what you think of poor me. I often think of the beautiful name you have, which is Henry Flower. Dear Henry, when will we meet? Yeah, when will we meet? So I don't think they've ever met. I think of you so often you have no idea. A badly written letter. I have never, definitely needs to go to a creative writing class. Not that you're going to learn anything in a creative writing class anyways. I wonder what creative writing class James Joyce went to. I think of you so often you have no idea. Or what creative writing class Samuel Beckett went to. Or what creative writing class Brendan Behan went to, who was actually a house painter. And also what creative writing class did Shauna Casey go to, who actually was a builder's labourer on a construction site, and his sister taught a lot of people don't know this. Shauna Casey, I don't think he ever went to school. He went for a few years, and his sister taught him how to read at the age of 13. So Casey had no education at all. He never went to school really, and ended up being one of the greatest world great playwrights. He was a builder on a construction site. A labourer on a construction site, and Brendan B, another famous playwright here in Ireland, was a house painter. They certainly didn't go to any creative writing classes. I have never felt myself so much drawn to men as you. I feel so bad about. You see, she's not a great writer. Please write me a long letter and tell me more. Remember, if you do not, I will punish you. It sounds like, it's, what Joyce is getting at here. So now you know what I will do to you, you naughty boy. If you do not write. You can just visualize Joyce roaring, laughing. And I want to tell you a little story after I finish this. Oh, how I long to meet you, Henry dear. Do not deny my request before my patience are exhausted. You see? Before, it doesn't make sense. Dear Henry dear, do not deny my request before my patience are exhausted. It will not be, it's. Then I will tell you all. Goodbye now, naughty darling. I have such a bad headache today, and write by return to your longing, Martha. P.S. Do tell me, what kind of perfume does your wife use? I want to know. You see the exactness of Joyce's writing here. This is the badly written letter, but it's not. It's just what I'm getting at. So no doubt in my mind that Joyce was roaring and laughing as he was writing this, as he was throughout this book. And actually, when I read Ulysses first, I remember saying to my wife Ellen, I said, Ellen, I guarantee you James Joyce was roaring and laughing as he was writing Ulysses, because he had to. It's just so funny. And funny enough, about 2 weeks later, excuse me. Actually, when out in New York and Queens, New York, actually this happened in Mespat's bookshop there, and we were in a bookshop one day on one Saturday, and picked up a book. It was a book. Uh, I think there was an article in there about Nora Barnacle. Actually, Nora Barnacle was actually from was from Galway City in Galway here, who was married to James Joyce. But anyways, Nora Barnacle wrote a letter to her sister or her friend, and she said, I remember reading, she said that James used to keep her up at night, roaring laughing. Laughing to himself, she said. That most nights when he was writing Ulysses, he used to keep her up. She couldn't go to sleep because he used to be roaring laughing to himself. Because he was roaring laughing to himself as he was writing Ulysses. So that was verified. He had to be, because it's just such a funny book, I mean, as I said before, I would be, laughing out loud if I didn't have to, wasn't explaining it here, So going on here, but definitely this person that wrote this letter should have attended a creative writing class. I wonder what Joyce and Samuel Beckett and Shauna Casey and Brenda Behan would have said to all these creative writing classes. They would definitely be laughing. Continuing on, well, it's writing is an art, and it cannot be taught. It's that's as simple as that. It's like painting a picture. How can you teach a painter how to paint a picture? You really can't. Next line. He tore the flower gravelly from its pinhole, smelt its almost no smell, and placed it in his heart pocket. Language of flowers, they like it because no one can hear, or a poison bouquet to strike him down. Then walking slowly forward, he read the letter again, murmuring here and there a word. Angry tulips with you, darling, menflower, punish your cactus if you don't. Please, poor forget-me-not, how I long violets to dear roses, when we soon any moon meet all naughty night stalk. Night talk wife, Martha's perfume, having read it all, he took it from the newspaper and put it back in his side pocket. So, reading that again. He tore the flower gravelly from his pinhole. So this is the flower that stuck onto the letter. Smelt its almost no smell. That's very important. Smelt its almost no smell. Why has the flower got no smell? Because it's obviously a little bit withered and the smell has gone from it. Smelt its almost no smell. Still got a little bit of smell, but the smell is nearly gone. Smelt its almost no smell and placed it in his heart pocket. Language of flowers. They like it because no one can hear. They like it because no one can hear. Obviously referring to women, I would say. They like it because no one can hear. Women and flowers. I can't fully understand that. They like it because no one can hear. No one can hear. That's what I can make out. Have to give that more thought. But what woman doesn't like flowers, as they say? That's what he's referring to there. Or a poison bouquet to strike him down. Joyce has thrown in this here, a poison bouquet to strike him down. Then walking slowly forward, Leopold Bloom was walking forward slowly. He read the letter again, murmuring here and there a word. Now, this is very important. Then walking slowly forward, he read the letter again, murmuring here and there a word. Now, I have to read these three lines again. Angry tulips with you, darling, menflower, punish your cactus. If you don't, please. Poor forget-me-not, how I long violets to dear roses, when we soon any moon meet all naughty night talk wife, Martha's perfume. Having read it all, he took it. I'll stop there. Now we came across this a few times so far in this reading Ulysses here, where in the letters where he didn't read all the letters. It's different characters. Only read bits and pieces, and this is another example now here of Leopold Bloom is just thinking here, but he's not. He's thinking of words that he read in this letter, but also in previous letters this lady has sent him, and he's thinking about words, just random words picked out from all these letters. These are all coming out of his head. Angry tulips. So these are words she has used in her letters before, different letters, and also some of the words are from this letter, but they're not all from this letter, all these words. Angry tulips with you, darling. Angry tulips with you, darling. Angry tulips with you, darling. Manflower, punish your cactus. If you don't, please. Poor forget-me-not. How I long, violets, to dear roses, when we soon, any morn, meet all naughty, night talk, wife, Martha's perfume. So it's all these words that he's just taught in his head from all these different letters. Having read it all, he took it from the newspaper and put it back in his side pocket. Weak Jai opened his lips, changed since the last letter. Wonder did she write it herself? Doing the indignant, a girl of good family like me, respectable character, could meet on Sunday after the rosary. Thank you, not having any. Usual love skirmish, then running round corners, bad at the row with Molly. Cigar has a cooling effect, narcotic. Go further next time. Naughty boy, punish, afraid of words, of course, brutal. Why not? Try it anyhow, a bit at a time. Fingering still the letter in his pocket, he drew the pin out of it. Common pin, ear. He threw it on the road, out of her clothes somewhere, pinned together. Queer the number of pins they always have. No roses without thorns. I'm going to be finished up now in about 5 minutes here, so I want to go through this. Okay, weak Jai opened his lips. Great writing from Joyce there. Weak Jai opened his lips, smiling. Changed since the last letter. So now he's thinking about this lady. She has changed since the last letter he sent to her. Wonder did she write it herself? He's thinking, I wonder did she write this letter herself? Doing the indignant. She's doing the indignant. That's what he's thinking. A girl of good family like me. So this lady is from a good family. He has figured out from the previous letters. She's a respectable character. Could meet her one Sunday after the rosary. This is what he's thinking. I could meet her one Sunday after the rosary. The rosary here is a Catholic prayer. It's a very next to the going to mass here. Catholics believes the rosary is the most important thing. It's a highly powerful prayer. The rosary lasts about 20 minutes and it's very popular among Catholics to say the rosary. It's especially in Ireland here. The rosary has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. People say the rosary here. It's part of the rosary in Ireland. Is part of the culture. It's part of the DNA of the people here. It's a very popular prayer. As said with rosary beads. So could meet her one Sunday after the rosary. It's part of the tradition of Ireland here, saying the rosary. Could meet her one Sunday after the rosary. Thank you, not having any. Thank you, not having unusual love skirmish. So he's thinking about these letters, or this recent letter. It's a bit of a, they seem to be not getting on that well. Then running round corners. Now he's thinking, if he met her, to be running around corners. Bed of the row with Molly. The letter, what she was saying, it's like a row with Molly, his wife, Molly Bloom. Cigar, now he's thinking, cigar has a cooling effect. Thinking about if you smoke cigar, it relaxes you, which in fact it doesn't, but whatever. Narcotic, it's a narcotic. Go further next time. In the next letter he writes her, naughty boy, he's thinking. Punish, afraid of words, of course. Brutal, why not? Try it anyhow. A bit at a time. Naughty boy, he's thinking about what she wrote in the letter. Punish, afraid of words, of course. Brutal, why not? Try it a bit at a time. So he's going to, tell her more in, more letters he's going to send her. He's going to, a bit at a time, meaning, eventually maybe you possibly meet her, but you do it a bit at a time. Fingering still the letter in his pocket, he drew the pin out of it. Now, the word fingering here is very significant, knowing Joyce and what we've encountered so far from James Joyce. Fingering still the letter in his pocket, he drew the pin out of it. I'm not going to even attempt to explain what Joyce is hinting at here. Fingering still the letter in his pocket, he drew the pin out of it, but he is definitely insinuating something else. Common pin, now he's thinking about the pin, it's a common pin. He threw it on the road. So he threw the pin that was sticking, this flower in the letter, he threw it on the road, out of her clothes somewhere. So this pin has come from her clothes, pinned together. So this pin came from this lady's clothes. Queer the number of pins they always have. So he's thinking about the number of pins that women and ladies in general have. Queer the number of pins they always have. He's thinking about women. No roses without thorns. This is the difference between storytelling and writing here again. Another example. Queer the number of pins they always have. No roses without thorns. You know, women, beautiful roses, and the pins are the thorns. Flat Dublin voices bawled in his head. Those two sluts that night in the combe linked together in the rain. When Mary lost the pin of her drawers, she didn't know what to do to keep it up. It then such a bad headache. Has her roses probably, or sitting all day typing. Eye focus, bad for stomach nerves. What perfume does your wife use? How could you make out like that? Just going to finish here now on these few lines. So flat Dublin voices bawled in his head. So now he's thinking about he's thinking this. Flat Dublin voice bawled in his head. Those two sluts that night in the combe, which is probably a pub. Those two sluts are two, wanton women, two, ladies of the night possibly. These two sluts that night in the combe, which is a pub, linked together in the rain. No, the combe is probably a place in Dublin. Linked together in the rain. So these women, two women, were walking on the street and they were singing this song. When Mary's lost the pin of her drawer, she didn't know what to do to keep it up. They were singing that. They were drunk. It then such a bad headache. And now he's thinking about the lady that wrote the letter. She said she had a bad headache. Such a bad headache. He's thinking that. Has her roses probably. That's what Leo Bloom is thinking. Well, the lady that wrote the letter, the reason she had a headache, she has her roses probably. Go figure that out. I think most people know what that means. Or sitting all day typing. Or was she sitting? And now he's thinking, or was she sitting all day typing? Eye focus, bad for stomach nerves. That's what he's thinking. What perfume does your wife use? Now he's thinking about what she said in her. What perfume does your wife use? Now could you make out a thing like that? So I'm going to leave it at this setting now because we're up to 1 hour 27 minutes. So I'm going to leave it here now for the time being. What did we get through at all here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5 pages. Well, Ulysses is an intense book, and you can't rush it, as I said before. So I'm going to sign off here now. It's getting late at night, and just looking out on the village of Monavea here. The lights are shining bright out here, as I say, in Monavea. And until next time, the next section of this will be section 5, and that should finish the third installment, and that should bring us up to page 70. So it will just be a few more pages, and let me just see now here a second before I sign off. It'll be 1, 2, 3, about another 3 pages or 4 pages. I'm just going to sum it up then, and that'll be the finish of the third installment. So I thank all listeners sincerely. Goodbye.